Hi everyone, it's Nichol Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be creating some butterfly shaped cards with the brand new collection Bibi's Butterflies from Spellbinders. I am so excited for my friend who has this amazing new collection, and I thought what fun it would be to create some shaped cards today. I think shaped cards are amazing, and something really fantastic about Bibi's collection is that the dies are not super teeny tiny. You guys, this is so amazing. I love this so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create a 5x7 shaped card first. I need to start with a 5x7 card base. So I took a piece of Simon Says Stamp sea glass cardstock and I trimmed it to 10x7, and I used a score pal to score it in half at the 5-inch mark for my 5x7 card base. This just makes it really easy for me to start with the size card base that I want to achieve with the shaped card. I'm just going to use my bone folder to score that in half, and then taking the largest butterfly card creator etched dies. In this collection, you get the 2 butterfly shapes. You can kind of see that I've got out on my desktop right now. I'm taking the largest one and I'm hanging it off the edge of the folded seam of my card, and I'll run this through my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine. I simply tried to center it as close as possible. I'm going to zoom in a little bit now that I've got my cardstock trimmed down. After I have that, I'm going to just kind of pull away the excess, and then my Post-it tape stuck a little bit, so I'm just going to peel that off with the tip of my tool-in-one. And here is our card base. So it doesn't have the entire wing because we need that to be the folded edge for a shaped card. I will then die cut another piece of the sea glass cardstock, and this is going to be the one that goes on the front of our shaped card base. I decided to give my cardstock a little bit of interest before we layer on all the beautiful florals that Spellbinders is known for, and I'm going to achieve this with the Simon Says Stamp Peonies and Leaves Delicate stencil. This stencil is super detailed, really pretty, and oversized, so I thought it would be perfect for a 5x7 card. I want to mention really quick that I chose to do the 5x7 card first because you guys, I did a 5x7 card here a few weeks ago, and I've had a lot of requests for more 5x7 style cards. And I know there's a lot of you who really enjoy those, and so I thought it would be really fun to kind of highlight that today. And then I will show the more of the traditional A2 sized card here in a second. It is shaped as well. So I am using Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively Saturated Inks in Marine, Cadet, and Royal for my flowers, and then I'm going to use Fairway and Field for the greenery. Kind of a non-traditional color palette, I guess, for my florals, but I really wanted to do a blue style butterfly card here, and I want the background to take kind of a back seat to what we will be adding on top, but yet it adds so much beautiful interest to the background that I really love it. Next, I'm going to use some of those green inks that I was talking about. Something that really helps with a detailed stencil like this is to use the smaller size blending brushes. So you'll notice that I am using the small size blending brushes for all of my ink blending. I'm even going to use an Altenew blending brush for some of these smaller, like little berry shapes here in a bit. You could do that for everything if you wanted to, like the leaves and things like that. I didn't get too hung up with making sure the ink stayed right in that section. It's more of kind of that illusion of the design, I guess I want to say, and I don't mind there being a little ink transfer, you know, to different sections. It is really, a lot of this is going to get covered up, but yet it's still going to provide the most beautiful backdrop for our floral design, which you'll see here in a minute. Also included in the butterfly card creator etched dies, so you're going to get 2 butterflies. They're both very large. You're also going to get one large body. Then you have a small butterfly die and then a detail die, which I will be using to kind of finish off my scene. and you're getting a bunch of florals and leaves. So great. The florals could be used for all kinds of things, even if you don't use them for the butterflies, which I really think is amazing. I am going to... Odin is just snoring away, you guys. I'm so sorry. I am going to take my small blending brush and add that royal ink into the smaller berry areas. I did go over it with my smaller blending tool just to kind of make sure and get the color blended out beautifully. And then adding in some of that deeper, darker green. This is the field color. Just little bits here and there. It looks a little bit like a hot mess until I remove the stencil. With a detailed stencil like this, I also want to recommend maybe a pixie spray. I did apply pixie spray to the back of this, and I really think it helped hold it in place while I was doing my work. And there is our beautiful butterfly. There are some areas that don't have stenciling. That's totally cool. I will show you what we'll do with that. I also took the smaller of the two large butterfly shapes and die cut one from vellum, which I am going to use here. Now you can see that I did die cut all those shapes, and I had set aside my stencil mat and blending brushes, but then I pulled them back out because I forgot I wanted to ink blend. So to make my ink blending a little bit easier today, I started with colored cardstock for the most part. For the flower centers, I went ahead and used white, but for the leaves, I used some green cardstock, and for the flowers, I used that Simon Says Stamp Sea Glass cardstock and also some white, which we will leave white. All the flowers are going to be either blue or white, and then we have the beautiful greenery. I'm using my same two lighter colors of Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks in either Marine or Cadet for the larger part of the flower, and then for the little small layering piece, we are going to be using more of the royal. I used Cadet first, but I will go over these with royal, and I think that that really deepens and darkens it nicely. And then I think I even went back with my blending brush and maybe added a little more color to the large first layer of the flowers. So you'll see that here in a second as well. I'm going to just tap off some of that excess. And the debossed areas of these flowers is going to pick up more of the color, which is really nice. For the leaves, we are going to start with Field, and I'm just going to ink blend some of that up on these. And again, if you want to speed up the process a little bit, starting with colored cardstock when ink blending, or even shading with Copic markers. My dog is snoring so loud. I'm really, really sorry. When you are shading with them, starting with a colored cardstock just really speeds up the process. For the flower centers, I used a little Sunbeam. That's the mid-tone color from the Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks. And now that we have all of our flowers, I am going to set that aside. And I've got the Spellbinders tool to kind of help shape the flowers. We've got like the stylus tips and all of that, like the leaf tip and all of that. So I'm going to grab that and the little foam block, and you can see that if you press in the center of your flower, it kind of helps shape it so that the petals pull up a little bit, which I really like. It just helps your flower from being too super flat. So here is our flower, and that's what it'll look like once we add the layering piece. There is also the white flower, which I thought kind of looked more like a little daisy or something, and so I just left this one in white. We're not going to add any shading, and I'm going to layer two of these together to give the flower a little bit more interest and dimension. And then the yellow flower centers will go in the center of all the flowers, the white and the blue. So I just played around with my little foam block and my tool, giving my flower some shape. And then I will put those together in a minute. As I was looking at my background, I decided I wanted some kind of messy white text in the background. So I inked up the Good Reading background from Simon Says Stamp with white pigment ink, and I just layered my butterfly over that. Now you'll notice I'm doing a half of the butterfly at a time. The stamp is not quite big enough for a 5x7 type butterfly, and because of that, I decided to do 1/2 at a time, because where it meets in the center, we aren't going to see because the butterfly body will go there. So it really gives the illusion that it's got text all over, but you know, you kind of miss the little seam. So that's my tip there. It's very subtle, but I love that little bit of text in the background. I put some adhesive just down the center of my large butterfly, like so. I'm not going to put anything underneath the vellum wings, and then we are going to glue the body down, which I die cut from some Simon Says Stamp slate gray cardstock. So that's going to go right down the center. I'm just going to put a little thin line of glue and pop the butterfly body in place. Just like so. So at this point, you really can see the stenciling in the background. You could stamp your sentiment or put a big die cut sentiment across this. I, of course, am going to go completely over the top with florals, but I think you end up with such a beautiful piece. So with these dimensional florals, we're going to go ahead and adhere the parts and pieces together with just a small dab of glue in the center. I didn't put glue underneath the entire thing, just in the center of each of the flowers. That's going to allow them, the petals, that freedom to, you know, have that natural, more floral shape. And then in the center of each, we're going to place a little flower center. I highly recommend maybe letting your flowers sit for a few minutes to let that glue dry before trying to move them and place them on your card. I know I kind of got a little too excited and some of the flower centers shifted and I had to glue them back down. So I wisened up and I kind of glued them in place, set the flowers aside while I worked on some other things, and then came back and assembled the rest of it. Oh my goodness, already you can see how beautiful this is going to look. I'm really, really excited. So let's go ahead and shape the rest of our flowers really quick and start putting them all in place. Figuring out placement for the flowers and leaves probably took me the longest out of everything, but once I got going, it really came together pretty quickly. Now I do want to tell you that I ended up die cutting a few more flowers. So I started with 2 white flowers, 2 large blue flowers, and 2 small blue flowers. I die cut an additional white flower and 2 additional small blue flowers for my completed card. I knew at the time I probably would need a few more florals to round out my card and to really fill in the center. But until I don't know about you guys, but until I start laying things down, I'm not always super sure how many I'm going to need. When I added more flowers, I also added a few more individual leaves because I definitely felt like more greenery fills in some of those open areas beautifully. Oh my goodness, you guys, look at this. How pretty is this card? And it's so easy to make. Now down in that bottom right, I decided that would be a perfect place for a sentiment. We're going to use the Butterfly Sentiments clear stamp set that coordinates with this collection, and I'm going to stamp Happy Birthday to You right down there in the bottom right using clear embossing ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. There's also congratulations, sending prayers, stay strong, thank you, sending hugs, which I am going to use on my second card, thinking of you, and with heartfelt sympathy. Lots of great greetings, and then there's some butterfly images in this stamp set that coordinate back with some dies. I didn't use them in today's card or today's video, but if you'd like to see me do some other cards with this collection, definitely drop me a note down below. Tell me what from this collection you'd like to see me use. I'm also going to be putting a poll up on my community page to kind of get some feedback about what from this collection you would like to see in an upcoming video, so definitely stay tuned for that. After I've stamped Happy Birthday to You, we will heat emboss with the white embossing powder. I wanted the sentiment to stand out, which I love how white embossing powder looks on vellum, but I also want it to coordinate and kind of flow into the design of the card and not overshadow the design. I kind of thought I put this little blue flower here first, and then I immediately was like, no, I think I want to group 2 white flowers together. So I moved it before that glue dried, and we're going to just tuck it in there. Just lift up some of the leaves. I purposely left like the leaves on the branch without adhesive. I only put adhesive underneath the stem so that it give me a little play to tuck some parts and pieces underneath leaves like you're going to see me do throughout. And I'm loving it. I don't know about you guys, but I love butterfly anything. This collection is so amazing. I'm really excited about it. Now you'll notice that there's like some little yellow pearls in the center of my flowers and then some blue pearls scattered around. These are both from the recent Pretty Pink Posh release. In case you were looking for some pretty pearls to add to your collection, I love how they look on this, and they add the perfect little finishing touch to my florals as well as a nice scattering around the floral design and all of that. I'm using my embellishment wand to pick those up and just pop those in place all along my little floral swag. So the last thing, kind of up there in the upper left at a diagonal from where our sentiment is going to be the perfect spot for our little butterfly that's floating along these florals. So not only is our card a butterfly shape, but we are going to have a butterfly floating here in our butterfly garden. I die cut all of the pieces from my butterfly from smooth white cardstock, and I'm going to ink up the first piece. This is going to be the front panel with some Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks in Sunbeam and Citrine. So it's going to be yellow. And I even put a little bit of the cappuccino brown color in the center. And there's the body of the butterfly. So this is achieved. There's a solid butterfly shape, and then there's a shape that goes inside of that solid die that die cuts the detailing. On the background piece for the butterfly, I'm going to leave that one and ink it with the cappuccino ink for a brown background. Then you could take your Spellbinders Tool-in-One on the detailed piece for any of the little pieces that didn't pop out and roll that brush over it, and it should pop out almost everything there. And that's what it's going to look like, but I want the background to have a little more contrast. So I will ink that up with the brown ink before we assemble the butterfly and adhere it to our card. I love to use some tweezers to help hold the butterfly shape. I again did not secure the butterfly wings to the butterfly background. Gives them a little bit more movement if you want it to. I did end up actually adding a little Nuvo crystal drops to parts of my butterfly wings. I thought I'd do pearls, and then I decided that was way too many pearls. I already got a lot going on in the flowers, so I decided to do something different here. More of a stained glass look. So we'll take a little limoncello Nuvo crystal drops and add it to a few specific spots right on our butterfly. I used my reverse tweezers to kind of help hold that butterfly down. Once dry, because I only put adhesive underneath the center so the wings could kind of flip up a little bit, I'm going to take glossy accents and place that in the center of the butterfly so it ends up with a glossy body. And then here I'm just adding a few additional pearls from the remaining flowers and leaves and all of that good stuff that I added to my card. We also want to take our card base that we die cut at the very beginning, and we're going to put adhesive all over the front of this before placing our butterfly background shape right on top. Now I like to die cut my card front and my card base when I do a shaped card like this from the same color of cardstock, as I think it just flows really nice. So this is why I use the sea glass for both the card shape and the butterfly, but if you want, you could totally do that out of it like a white cardstock. And then I'm going to set this aside to dry while I work on my second card. So for the second card, we're going to take dies from the So Many Butterflies Etched Dies collection. This time I am going to be using some Simon Says stamp. I said Simon Says stamp, but I actually think I used Lawn Fawn Dolphin gray cardstock, and I die cut my card base just like I did before, and I also die cut a solid butterfly. In this collection from Spellbinders, there's also the geometric butterfly stencil, and I'm taking some white pigment ink and pouncing it over the largest butterfly from this So Many Butterflies Etched Dies collection. It matches up perfectly, and this is going to be super subtle because I am going to take the next size butterfly and die cut it from vellum and place it over the top. However, I do really like that little bit of texture it adds to the background that you can see through. This is just a little bit scaled down, easier, quicker version of the first card, as well as smaller. This is going to fit in an A2 sized envelope, where our large card is going to fit in a 5x7 type envelope. So you definitely want to make sure that you have the right envelope for the right card size. But I wanted to show how you could take the same idea and scale it down to a card size and shape that a lot more people probably have envelopes for or create. Now this time I took some Hero Arts Peony cardstock, and I am inking up my flowers with Blush and Pucker Simon Says stamp Positively Saturated ink. This is going to be very similar to our first card, but we're only going to do 2 flowers, and I'm not going to do the other little white flower, daisy shaped flower at all. We've got some leaves and then one little branch. I felt like this was fit a little bit better just on the smaller size and scale of this design. We're going to take Fairway and Field inks again and ink up our card. Just like so. Or ink up our leaves, pardon me. Then we're going to attach these to our card front, just like we did for the first card. I'm going to concentrate my florals in the center of my butterfly. I'm going to, again, use my stylus tip and the Spellbinders Tool-in-One to give the flowers a little bit of shape and give those petals that nice lift that's perfect. I've also stamped Sending Hugs from the Butterfly Sentiments stamp set, and I die cut it with a Simon Says stamp sentiment labels die to create a small little die cut sentiment that I can attach to my card. I stamped that with the Pucker ink to bring in a little more color to a very neutral background card. We're going to add our flowers first, and I originally thought I would do green flower centers. It was horrible. I did not like it at all. I'm going to peel that off before the glue has much of a chance to dry. I shouldn't say it's horrible. It's not my favorite. And I decided this would be a great opportunity to pull in some heart accents. You guys know how much I love heart accents, so I'm going to take some little white Trinity Stamps heart accents and place those in the center, and then some pretty pink posh white crystal gems can be scattered around that are really going to add to kind of a sparkly feel to this card and add a little extra embellishment. If you want to decorate more of the front of the card, you could always consider putting your sentiment inside the card and really go all out on the front. So you could add quite a few more florals. I wanted to leave a little bit more white space and add a sentiment strip, but definitely keep in mind that you could add more florals and put a greeting inside of your card as well. I'm going to move that down. I did put a little foam adhesive back behind my sentiment strip. I'm trying to find the best place for that guy. And then of course we have little finishing details, which are always my favorite. And here are those white jelly hearts. We're going to put a I think it's a medium-sized one in the bigger flower and then a small one in the small flower. I'm just going to put a little dab of glue in each, and then we're going to take some of those white crystal gemstones and scatter those throughout the rest of the card design. And then we will take our butterfly shape, glue that to the card front that I created, and I created it just like I did for the larger size card. I just didn't do it on camera, where we had the butterfly wings hanging off of the sides of an A2 card base when I die cut it. And then we have our shaped card. And that is it, you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing some butterfly shaped cards with Bibi's new collection from Spellbinders called the Bibi's Butterflies. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon members. If you would like to become a member of Patreon, please click the link in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.